Oh, assalamu alaikum, everyone. Good evening and assalamu alaikum, Imad.
Walaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. How are you, Sam?
Alhamdulillah. I'm so delighted that me and you were connected tonight
Likewise.
to talk about stuff that I think most of us, we used to do a lot of talks, like say in living rooms, in the- in public places. But this is the first time we just me and you have this conversation open for to share it with everyone listening tonight. So our topic, as I titled it, is about where is the engagement of the Muslim community, mainly a second generation, and I think you are a second generation born raised Canadian Muslims for the Lebanese family, and I don't know why it seems to me like I'm still thinking that we do need to discuss it a little bit more about our engagement as a minority a group of people, whether in Calgary or in Canada. And we had a guest last week who disagree with me totally. And some people do believe the engagement is up there already, and I don't see it that way. So I'd like to continue that conversations, hoping that we can learn from your experience, especially being who you are and how much you've done to the community for so many years already. So I'll leave you to talk a little bit, introduce yourself to us, especially for those people who don't know who's Emad Max, and what's your thought on the title uh, specifically.
Okay. Thank you, Sam. First of all, thank you for having me on as your guest. It's a privilege to have this forum with you.
Alhamdulillah.
My hat goes off to you for all the work that you do,
My pleasure.
getting involved, being involved, trying to engage all members of our community. Which it takes a lot of work and a lot of effort. So my hat goes off to you first.
My pleasure.
For those of you that do know me, yeah, I've been in Calgary since 1995. Um, for a while, many of the community know me and remember me as the general manager of Associated Cabs for
Mhm.
many years. And during my tenure there, gave me an opportunity to really get my hands on in the political world
Mhm.
and a little bit in our community, the Muslim community,
Right.
specifically dating back to when we originally purchased, the community purchased Rundle College, which is Akram Juma Center right now.
Right.
So I had a little bit of a brief stint with that.
Right.
And ever since then, I've just been, engaged on all three levels of politics here in Canada, municipal, provincial, and federal. I think it's very important for everybody, not just us minority groups, but for everybody, every Canadian to get involved. We live in a democracy. What
Right.
that means is rule by the people. It is therefore important that people should have a say in what happens and what is decided. And the only way to do that is to be involved.
Right. So, and that's really the point that I'm trying, or the question that I'm trying to ask myself and the people I know, like, is it fair to say that as a Muslim community in Calgary, whether Arabs or non-Arabs, as a Muslims specifically, as part of the larger community, is the Muslim community of Calgary, are they engaged? I don't want to say properly, but are they engaged enough based on your experience, Max?
Based on my experience and what I've seen over the years, you know, every community is pretty much the same. I mean, when we look at the statistics of voting, for example, we always see how low it is.
Right.
So it's not just us; it's everybody that contributes to that low percentage of voting. We, as a Muslim community, over my years, I've seen very little activity. To be honest,
Right.
we can definitely be more involved, more engaged, and honestly, Sam, it doesn't take a lot of effort to get engaged and get involved. Whether it's in your riding where you live, doesn't matter what level of government. It's,
Mhm.
maybe a few hours a month out of your time to get
Right.
involved. And, if anything, you'll learn the democratic system and how it works properly. And what
Mhm.
we can do as a Muslim community, we can take away from that and implement it within us, within
Mhm.
our community. I want to specifically speak on the recent MCC elections.
Okay.
For me personally, that was the first time I ever got involved in it, and I was very proud and honored to have had the chance to be involved and met so many amazing people. Our community, our brothers and sisters, we got so many bright people out there,
So true.
hardworking, devoted, and so much more can be done. But if we even look at the numbers that we had out for the last MCC election, it was extremely low for the amount of Muslims that we have in the city.
And that's I think we all always say this, the amount of engagement from our community in these kind of political activities and elections, whether municipalities or provincially or even federally, it's kind of low comparing to our engagement on other levels, especially if we consider the financial influence, I should say, that a lot of community member has. And but you see, it's not really equal. So we might be more focusing on the economical engagement and economical success versus political success. But I don't know if you agree with me or not, but since 2001, since 9/11, things did change
Absolutely.
for us.
Absolutely.
And I mean, and you can't really just shy away from the fact that there's so much happening, whether locally or internationally, that really forced us to be more creative and more proactive in our engagement. Because in the end, I think we all it's like we're all in the boat, and whether we like it or not, we do have to find a common language that's going to bring us together. And I really think still we're trying, but we're not there yet. So
Mm,
if we can establish at least one base to start with, which is whether we like it or not, we need to adopt new ideas that's going to help our community to come together, act together, get engaged together, and perform together, just to protect or to increase the common interest that we have among each other. So having said all that, for you, Imad, if we want to say we are engaged but not engaged enough, like how you measure a success, how you measure a community engagement to be like good or to be unacceptable. If we want to compare, let's say, our community with any other community that you might know, so how you measure the success of how you measure the engagement, is it just by showing up at the voting or
Well,
other
I
things?
mean, it's a whole bunch of things.
Hmm.
Politics, Sam, and whether you're here or back in our homelands, anywhere in the world, politics is all around us.
Hmm.
Decisions people make affect our everyday life. Whether it's schools or healthcare or laws or environment or social programs or community programs.
Right.
Politics is a part of our lives. Uh, we seem to, complain after the fact when a politician makes a decision, whether it's a premier or a prime minister, or whether it's somebody in our homelands, depending on what political party you're affiliated with. We always seem to be reactive instead of proactive.
So
We
true.
need to be proactive,
I agree.
and getting involved here in Canada, it's so simple, and there's so many different avenues that you can go getting involved. Whether it's voting, which is the most important thing. That's the number one most important thing, is voting, getting out and casting your voice. Getting involved in campaigning, joining a political party, joining a PAC. What a PAC is, it's a political action committee.
Hmm.
This is something that we can do in our community. Uh, you know, and it'll alleviate some of the fiascos that we've seen in the past in our personal elections in the Muslim community. When you have a political action association, they can have everything organized. We're not scrambling, we're not running around, which again, I haven't been really that involved until recently. And just some of the things that I saw, those things can be alleviated. Joining a local EDA. And what an EDA is, it's an electoral district association. I belong to one myself. I'm on the Calgary Forest Lawn EDA, and not only am I a board member, I'm an executive board member as well.
Right.
In our own personal community associations like the MCC, the NCFC, those boards there. And I'm looking at the recent board members that have just come on and have really put the fight. It makes you so proud of them. The hard work that they've done, the struggles that they've been going through since I can't remember how long now, for the last 7-8 years, the fight, the uphill battle that they've been battling. And, so many more of us need to stand behind them and support them.
Right. Okay. I do see it. I think the way you see it, it reflects the viewpoint of so many people. Even though we do have to just be fair and to mention that some other people might disagree with that. And I think, inshallah, shortly we're gonna have answers for all the questions that we still haven't. In the end, we have an interest, we have a goal, and we have obligations to work as a community together, inshallah. I totally agree with the struggle that you mentioned for the last 6-7 years, and I really think this is part of our political maturities. And when I say political, I don't mean just like like I'm talking about party levels. I'm talking about like community level, because in the end, dealing with each other on a community level, this is politics. I think this is the best way of learning politics before you start talking to people outside of your own community. And because we do have our own, I should say, our own unique structure, especially here in Calgary. Do you think we are still struggling between the way myself or our folks who came here think of community engagements back in the old countries and what we learned from here? Do you think that these kind of two different model, are they working together hands in hand? Are they coexist together, or are they
clashing?
Or are they clashing? Yes. What I mean by that, let me be very specific, because I don't want to, because I think where we came from, and I think I'm talking about myself, somehow we put a lot of emphasis on the role of a leader, Mukhtar, Zaim, Sheikh, whatever. So always it's like a pyramid. We always missing that. If the top is good, that the base is good. And I really think here in Canada, I believe in the base that really strong and connected and work together, and the base produce the top instead of the top represent the base. So that kind of clashes between the two models that I'm talking about. Do you agree with my humble analogy?
I couldn't agree with you more, actually. I'm going to give you a little a saying from my old boss, and many of our community members in the Lebanese, Syrian, and Middle Eastern community know him, Roger Richard, who was my old boss, the owner of Associated Cabs. I mean, that man loved our culture. He'd get together with us and play cards with us. We taught him how to play licha, for example.
Licha, yeah.
And one of the sayings that he used to say to everybody, the problem, and this is coming from somebody from the outside looking in on us.
Right.
The problem with, I'll just say the Lebanese community, for example, is they have one foot here and one foot in the old country.
Yeah, I think we
So
all.
they're
Yeah, we
not
all.
getting ahead here. They're not getting ahead in the old country. Now, the way you explained and you probably know about it more than I do, and regarding politics back home, I know from what I see on the TV and things like that. مثل الزعيم أو النايب,
Yeah,
for example, النايب عنده مرافق, 50 واحد وراه. Pardon
بالظبط.
me for our English listeners. Uh, so our MPs back in our old countries basically have 40, 50 guys, traveling with them. Uh, there we look upon one person to lead us. Here, it takes a group of us.
So true.
There's no such thing as one person. Here, it takes all of us to unite together. Max might have an idea, Sam might have an idea, so on and so on and so on. When we collaboratively work together and get together, we come up with great ideas. Again, we have so many bright, intelligent brothers and sisters in our community. يعني بنرفع الراس فعلا فيهم.
Absolutely.
It's amazing what we can come up with together. That ideology of one person, whether it's an MLA or an MP, it's a job. That's a job. It doesn't give you the right, مثل ما بيقولوا تعمل زعيم علينا. No, you were elected to do a job and represent the people. It's just like any other job. But, when all of us come together, trust me, it's amazing what can be done.
Uh,
And I really feel strongly within our Muslim community that a PAC group does get created. Even the youth, get the youth involved from a young generation,
right.
and they carry it on.
Right. Well, I mean, first of all, I mean, I would say second, I would like to, yani, thank you for you and and also the other people who really start calling for this action pack groups. I think there's a need for it. Political action pack group that is really needed. So whether start from your side or other people's side, it's valid. So
Sorry,
it's
Sam. Sorry
really.
to cut you off there. No, it shouldn't start from me personally, for example. We need the community to start it. So for example, the MCC board, just as an example, I don't want to throw anybody under
Yeah,
the bus here or anything,
yeah.
just using things as an example. We have to start it in our community as a community, not individually, because, we do have, one problem I've seen,
Mhm.
and I mean, I was born and raised in Ottawa. I know Ottawa very well. I know Montreal very well. I know Toronto very well, London. Uh, there is a difference within cities when it comes to communities. We really need it to come from within us as an organization.
Okay, and as an organization, is it? I
So
would say.
something like, let's say, Akram Juma or the MCC. I think the MCC, because they are the umbrella of the
Right.
Muslim community. I really think that it should be, started from there. I
Yeah.
know they have a lot of work and they have a lot on their plate right now. Allah yatihum al-afi. But isn't there an election coming up in the summertime? I don't
Well,
know. I
we don't
think
know.
so.
Nobody knows. Yes,
Oh,
but
okay.
also it's a very important to mention because we're talking Calgary at this point. We do have other organizations, amazing organizations in the city of Calgary, beside the MCC and its affiliates that also they are part of this community, and we're trying to reach out to everybody that they have a common interest in the embetterment and the empowerment of the local Muslim community in Calgary, whether as a Canadian or as a Muslims or as whatever nationality that we were from. I really need to go back to the just the point I was trying to make, where I do believe is our most, if it's like number one reason why a lot of our collective effort go astray is that individuality versus a group mentality. As I said, and really correct me if I'm wrong, I'm just seeing it over and over and over again. And I give you an example, so many examples. Like as soon as we elect somebody, to be a board member of non-for-profit organization that's supposed to be a voluntarily work.
Volunteer position, yeah.
It's like he, or I don't want to say she, because obviously we are really lack terribly when it comes to women representations, in my opinion. But he, all of a sudden, it's like I don't want to say all of them, but we seems to think, remind me of the old days. I don't want to be too critical, but I would say there's there is there is a process, or there is a steps need to take place, or actions to take place for some of the elected one to a non-for-profit organization to realize this is a community service. And this is not a prestige, or this is not like a hierarchy, or you are all of a sudden you act like you are a leaders in terms of a wiser, better, higher, and feeling like, I mean, treat people as if like you are the boss per se, versus you are the servant of the community.
That's a question that's daunted on me for so many years, to try and understand us as Middle Easterns, as Muslims. Uh, why it is that mentality is labeled on us. I mean, it's not just a label; it's a fact.
Right.
Uh, and to this date, I still haven't gotten an answer for that. I don't know if it's, and please, I don't mean to offend anybody, if it's arrogance or stubbornness or, I know better than you or I know more than you.
Right.
That's why, again, I get back to saying involvement,
Okay.
community, uh, more than one person, more than just one person delegating. I think when you have a group at the table, I remember not too long ago. I won't mention what meeting it was for, but it was part of our community, and it was a mixture of our brothers and sisters. And honestly, I was so impressed. I was so happy to see that and how engaged everybody was. Everybody was just throwing the ideas on the table, uh, and they were coming from all over the place. And I think that's what we need. So what I've seen here, yes, some of the old school still have that mentality and they're trying to still force it on us. Keep in mind, though, some of the old school people in our community have done a lot of great things as well, and they still continue to do a lot of great things. So, yeah, you're absolutely right, Sam. It's, that individual mentality that I'm somebody. Again, that's why I keep saying, whether it's a non-charitable organization or a group, any other group in our community, voting positions, we need to get involved. We live in the greatest democratic country in the world. We just need to educate our community more. I believe that. Educate our community more on a proper democratic process
Mhm.
and how that actually works.
Away from the Mukhtar mentality.
Exactly. Yeah. Again,
away
and you
from
guys would know more about that than I would, right?
away from a ضيعة mentality, and
Exactly.
this rivalry that unfortunately we are lose the left, right, and center because of some of us are doing that, and nothing striking call for us to realize how much work we really need is to see how much our youth is completely disconnected from, and that's how I see it. Our youth is really completely disconnected, because that's the major struggle between first generation and the third generation. Because I think you, as born for your folks came from Lebanon, I take it, right?
Yeah, they did.
So I'm sure if your kids and your father, and that's a two generation distance in between. So this is where, in my opinion, and I always, if you notice, like lately, I'm keeping using the second generation approach, because I really do believe it's an obligation for the second and third and beyond to get to carry the torch and start moving forward. Because for me, I was born outside of Canada. I came here just like so many others immigrants. It doesn't really matter how hard I'm trying to adopt to the system here, but it's still a lot of my programming. It comes from the old country, and the old country's mentality, the old country politics. It's really hurting us. That doesn't mean we're gonna cut completely the whatever we brought into this country, because I think there's a huge wealth of knowledge that we can use, but we need to find a formula that's gonna be successful in engaging the youth, bringing the born raised Canadian to be part of Canadian society fully, with the participation and engagement with our own local communities, for the one purpose is to be a good Canadian citizens, whether Canadian Muslims, Canadian Christians, Canadian Syrian, Canadian Lebanese, Canadian Pakistani, whatever the case might be. Our goal number one is to be a good citizen of this country, and to keep our heritage, and to be proud of who we are, and to perform our religious right without being feared of being discriminated or being labeled because of the actions of you. So if we
there's not too many there's not too many countries around the world, Sam, that you can do what we are doing right now as a Muslim community in Canada. Doesn't matter whether it's Calgary or any other city. The freedoms and rights for all religions, right? The freedoms and rights that we have in this amazing country, are incredible. The freedom to do what we want to do as a community, to keep our heritage alive, to keep our beliefs alive, our religion, to be able to teach our children, to be able to practice our religion and faith and beliefs. But what we need to do, being in Canada and being as a Canadian, let's take what's worked so great for this country politically and use it in our own communities.
So
and
true.
I'm talking politically wise, right?
Yeah.
It's working in Canada. Why wouldn't we take? It's free. It's out there. It's available for us, right? All we have to do, honestly, Sam, is something very, very simple: open our minds.
So
That's
true.
it.
And keep
Just
our
be
egos,
open-minded.
and keep our egos on the side a little bit.
Keep the egos at the door.
Yeah,
That's
especially
all we gotta do. It's a very it's probably a really hard thing for some of us, but for I believe for most of us, it's a very, very easy thing, because again, I get back to, we have amazing people in this community.
So true.
With their heart and their souls devoted, not 100%, 500%, to do good now, to do good for the future, for our children, our grandchildren.
So true.
But we've got a pool of resources available right at our fingertips. Let's just utilize it more.
And I can add, I just give you just to add to that, is we, in the last 2005, 2015, 2016, I was involved with the Syrian Refugee Support Group in Calgary and Calgary Immigrant Support Society. And at that time, 15, 16, 17, honestly, it's an amazing how much talented people we have, and how much resources we have as a Calgary community in general, and all these other minority communities, as a smaller group, I should say, collectively as a city of Calgary. But I do have to say that there was a huge involvement, whether the Arabic community, the Muslim community, the other non-Arab, non-Muslim community. I've seen a lot of jewels that came alive, and they did amazingly very well for a good cause. And that's what I really think. When you find a good cause, people will come for it. We'll get engaged. We'll get engaged. We'll get involved. What the Lebanese Association and the EMSA did a few months ago
regarding Beirut,
Lebanon.
incredible.
That's an amazing effort. This is and a kudos to the people who organized that. That
Yeah,
was an amazing effort. These are the kind of work, these are the kind of community engagement that's going to really create that buzz and beneath our skin to say, you know what, guys, there's power here, there's energy here, there's a future here. So what can we do and what we have to do to keep the momentum going? And I really think this talk is if there's any purpose from it, is just to keep the dialogue happening and keep the momentums going. Is what can we do to make sure our best and the brightest, they're always gonna be in the first line, and they're gonna work for the better future, whether current or future generation as well.
absolutely, absolutely. I mean, nobody can question the passion. The passion is definitely there. You know, when somebody says jump,
Yeah,
people in our community say how high. You know,
so true.
uh, again, I think just politically, I believe we definitely, you know, just a little bit of a political history. You know,
Right.
I've been involved, you know, for the last 30 years. I've you know, dating back to the Progressive Conservative Party of Canada, you know, the Reform, the Canadian Alliance, and you know, the latest thing that I was involved in, I was involved with Peter MacKay's run for for the leadership for the Conservative Party, where I flew down to Ottawa in August for our leadership vote, and was involved in the count room where we were. Everybody got the vote pretty late in Alberta that night. We were locked up until about midnight, I believe, in
Oh
the
wow.
count room. We were about 100, 150 volunteers that day. You know, counting almost 300,000 ballots to choose our leader for which is Aaron O'Toole for the Conservative Party of Canada. But again, we just got to get more involved politically, and
In all
if
parts.
anything,
Yeah,
doesn't matter
yeah,
what party.
yeah. Doesn't.
You know, and everybody who knows me knows that I'm a conservative, but you know, we need to get people in all parties. You know, federal, conservative, liberal, NDP, doesn't matter. You know, whether we win or we lose ridings, we just need to get involved. And I think what we can take away and learn from the Canadian political system will definitely benefit us in the Muslim system.
So okay, I just have to want to apologize for those friends who are asking questions. So we're just
Okay.
gonna give a quick to Sarah here, saying your thought on political accountabilities. I mean, we're talking politics
Okay.
now.
I guess you can translate that in many different ways. Political accountability, absolutely, without a doubt. Again, as I mentioned earlier, being a politician, you're applying for a job just like any other job, whether it's, you know, the manager of a distribution company or so on and so on. You
Yes.
have to be held accountable, especially as a politician, because it's the people that voted you in. You have to be readily available. You have to serve that, because that's basically what you are. You're a
Exactly what
public
it is. Yeah.
servant.
Yeah. Right.
And you have to answer for your actions, whether they're right or they're wrong. You have to answer for them. You have
Yeah.
to answer the people.
So true. And I just
So,
want
Sarah, I hope that answers your question.
and I do want to. I like the idea that these people, they were elected, whether on the political level or at the community level, they were elected to serve and to provide leadership to their community, not because they are better, no, because they're trusted. So my humble advice for those who getting elected, or we're going to be elect, or they're going to be elected, or they already got elected, if you're elected to perform a public work, just please remember that you're not better, you're not smarter, you're not wiser, you're
Absolutely
not
not.
richer. So keep the humbleness there. You have breathe normal. You don't have to just walk with the buffet chest and arm muscles and try to intimidate people. When people call you, answer the phone. When people text you,
Absolutely.
reply to the text, because you choose to be in a position to serve. So because you're a servant of this community, so you reply to this community, and doing it that way, you're going to encourage other people to get involved. You're going to
Absolutely.
encourage other people to serve. And if we start acting like you're a big shot, guess what? It's going to people are going to care
That's
less about
okay.
you.
We're in Canada. Vote them out in 4 years. It
And
doesn't matter
exactly,
who you are. I don't care if you're
turn
from.
off the community. It's going to turn off the community. I mean, it just
And again, Sam, I don't care if you're from the Lebanese community or Syrian or whatever it may
right.
be. my political, whether they're an MLA or an MP, if they're not doing the job, vote them out. Plain and simple. We can't just say, okay, he's one of us, therefore we keep him. But when we try to get a hold of him or her, or we need something
Nowhere
and
to
they're
be
not
found.
there, no,
Exactly.
they don't deserve to be there.
Exactly. And so just keep that in mind. Whomever got elected or going to be elected in the future, keep your feet on the ground. Don't think like you're just better or higher. Anyway, so here you go. Another question from Ahmad. I would love to meet Ahmad one day because I know him only on Facebook. I don't know, but he's
Okay.
an interesting guy. The internal power struggle within the community is what making the second generation disengaged from community. Your thought on that?
Uh, well, Ahmed, yeah, thanks for the question. He's very correct in that. I mean, we have a lot of power struggles within ourselves, and we were just touching on that, Sam, earlier. The individuality, the arrogance, and I'm, the leader, or I'm in this position, and I'm going to do what I'm going to do. We have to solve the issues of in community engagement, getting along with each other first and foremost. That's the number one thing. And again, check the egos at the door. That's it. Again, it's a simple thing.
So true. Thanks, Gene, for your nice word. Zahra, can you read the question?
I think people need to see the vision, like why they need to engage, and that will draw them to join. Zahra, thanks for your question. Yeah, absolutely. We need a vision for everything in life, right? We always do something for a reason. And that's, again, as I mentioned earlier, politics, for example, it's a part of our life. It's an everyday thing. Everything we do affects us through politics and getting engaged. So, we need to get along. It's so easy.
They need to get along. And I like also what Zahra just says. It sounds from what you are saying that they need training in leadership.
True.
I really truly believe we all need, all of us. We need
Zahra, leadership is not one person. Leadership is all of us.
so true.
Leadership is all of us working together. When an individual is put in a certain position, in a certain platform, the community, or in Canadian politics, the riding is putting that person to represent them.
So true.
So we as a community, we are the leaders. We are the ones that are going to set the tone now and in the future for our children.
Agree. Sorry for this long message that's going to block the screen, but I think it's a very important questions or a talking point from Ahmed again. Says, what's this obsession with unity? There are more diversity in the Muslim community than the Canadian baseline. Faith only one layer. Many Muslims fear losing their culture in the Muslims community, which is really, I think Ahmed is really bringing a very interesting talking point. Is why we're so obsessed by talking as like we are one community versus like this is one layer or one reason for all of us to be proud of and to be engaged in, not because if we're only Muslims, but it's only one of the things. Do you think we're obsessed by the word unity as a Muslims, or you think it's a necessity for us to think that way?
No, Ahmed's got a good point there. I don't think Muslims have a fear of losing their culture or their identity. Again, we got to remember we live in Canada, and this country has opened its arms to the world. We have all walks of life here, but I think that as a Muslim, we again, it's not from a fear of losing our identity or who we are, or the chance and the opportunity to still practice who we are as Muslims. We need to get involved in Canadian politics, Ahmed. We need to be heard more. And I think the only thing hurting us right now is the lack of voices that we have on provincial levels, federal levels. We have the people there. We just need to put them in.
Right. So, do you think that youth are they see what the I don't know. I want to
You
read it,
know,
but I think
Ahmed, you know, as Middle Easterns and as Muslims, again, no disrespect to any other cultures or religions. This is just my own belief. Our respect level is really high up there for our elders.
so true.
Uh, we still have to maintain that. That doesn't mean our youths cannot get involved in community politics, whether it's in the Muslim community or Canadian politics. I mean, we push our youth education, education, education. Well, this is just another part of where we can push them as well.
Right. I would say, if you don't mind me adding to that, when it comes to elders, and I totally agree with you. Like we were really brought up. I mean, for thousands of years documented history we have in the Middle East, we have a high respect for elder people, and this is no, and it's not a question. It's not the questions. It doesn't really matter. You always have to show respect in general. This
Absolutely.
is this is that. But when it comes to leadership, Max, when it comes to leadership, I really think it's not being older that mean you're like يعني you are مثل بيقولوا يعني more qualified. هلا in the old days, and if you don't give me like few minutes just to tell you, and you tell me if I'm thinking right or wrong here. In the old days, I would say, you know what, I'm leave it to another topic because I don't want to take your time and talking about what I think myself. But I just want to say, elder respecting the elders. This is not we're not even question this. But when it comes to leadership, we have to elect the most qualified people that's gonna provide and gonna deliver results. That doesn't mean young people are not qualified. That doesn't mean older people they're not qualified. When we have a candidate, because we're talking about non-for-profit organizations, so when people offer their services, we need our job as a community to sort things out and try to elect the best for the job, not Ibn Ammi, not Ibn Dayati, not Ibn Baladi, which is, I think we are all victims of this trap. Is electing just somebody who we think is part of our clan versus the one who can do a better job. And the perfect example is what happened in Akram Jama elections last round. I really think the group of people in Akram Jama, and we all agree, I think majority of us agreed, the young, vibrant, a group of board members in the Akram Jama, they really did amazing work, an amazing job,
Brothers
and
and sisters. Yeah, brothers and sisters.
brothers and sisters,
Yeah.
totally, and that's a perfect example of young people providing and doing a lot of work, and with the help and with the guidance and with the advices of the other people as well. Sorry, Ahmad, I'm talking more than what I should listen,
Oh,
but
that's okay.
so there's here it says Zayzi. Well, there's always two kind of people: people who would just be happy with their private life away from public life, and there's some people who will always like to do things as a part of the community. I mean, your comment on that?
I think we'll always have that. Not just us, other communities as well are in the same boat. But I think it's, if we can keep it to a small percent and have the majority that, work from the heart for the betterment of humanity.
Mhm.
Uh, and we get so many of them are out there. We just need to get them out. That'll phase out. Those people will be obsolete.
Perfect. I'll leave this comment to you to read for us, if that's okay.
Conflict of resolution. Some of the elders are not always open to constructive criticism. Zahra, yes. You got some really good questions there, Zahra. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, even some of the young people are not up to any constructive criticism. Patience is a virtue.
Sure.
And if you believe in a cause, if you believe you're doing something right and you're going down the right path, you just have to keep your head up high, strong, and just keep fighting for what you believe in. You're not going to please everybody.
Sorry, Emad, this is a very long, but
From
important.
Maysoon, one other important point you may not have addressed, and that is the language barrier. Many members of our new arrivals feel a disconnection because they do not feel fully integrated yet, and unfortunately, many of them do not feel that what is happening around them concern them much because Maysoon, the language barrier, I'm sorry, with all due respect, I think a lot of people just use that as an excuse. There's so many resources out there to help people with language barriers, not just in the Middle Eastern community, all communities, all languages. Again, we have all walks of life in this amazing country, and resources are out there to help people with language barriers. So, to answer your question, I think people who use the language barrier, it's just an excuse. And I
Absolutely.
don't mean to disrespect anybody.
I agree totally. And but Imad, I really think like احنا يعني I'm talking about myself, okay, man. I don't want to talk on behalf of nobody, but for some reason we're not really comfortable talking publicly about our own issues. I mean, we seems like we preferred like closed doors, behind doors conversations and all that stuff. But first of all, am I right on that? Is it we feel like more it's better to talk off the air versus like why even talk about these issues publicly and يتجرسنا as we say بالعربي.
What issues meaning like what? Are you talking
Yeah,
about personal issues?
any topic. Like we're talking about community. Okay, you're not supposed. Why are you talking? Why are you bringing community into the mainstream? Why don't we talk about it in our mosque, in our ahwe, in our houses? We're not supposed to address, especially the negativities if we have any, uh, into the public because that's gonna make us look bad. So do you am I right on that? Is we prefer not to talk publicly about anything that might sound a criticism of our community?
I'm not sure I understand the question. Publicly, like as Muslims?
Yes, it's like this conversation. Me and
Okay.
you, we can have this conversation. We can go to Habibi and we can talk as much as we want, right? But the minute you have this conversation when anybody can hear it, some people don't like that kind of engagement, don't like these kind of talks. They feel like you're just seeking publicity and being in the spotlight instead of thinking about what we're saying. The question is why they instead of what we're saying is no, you're not supposed to say this. You're not supposed to say that. Is that fair statement?
Uh, it depends, Sam. It depends what the issue is. What the topic is, right? I mean, there are some things that yes, a person just can't talk about publicly, right? If you're talking as an individual, it's one thing. If you're talking as a community, it's another thing. So I think your question is very, very broad and it's open to interpretation in many different ways. I think it would all depend on what the circumstances are.
Okay. So, okay, let me explain myself a little bit more. Born raised in Canada, you know how any topics within the Canadian communities, you can discuss anything and everything when it comes to any issues within Canadian communities. Do you agree on that?
Absolutely, freedom of speech. It's in the
Freedom of speech,
Constitution.
and anybody can go and talk about anything from far right to the far left, and in between, and all levels. But when it comes to us Easterners, and I don't mean only Arabs or only Muslims. I noticed this with so-called the old world, South Asia, Far East, Africa, and all the stuff, because media is not part of our. The media is not part of our. So let's say part of our daily life. Media, where we came from, it's only used by the authorities to tell us how to think and what to think, not by the communities to reach out and connect and address issues. So my point is this: it's not easy to talk about any community publicly, whether only if there's good things you talk about it and make us all proud. But if there's any negative talk, just stay away from it because you're hurting everyone. And I do believe in dialogue, and I do believe in open communications, where we can, like, if we didn't talk, how are we gonna held these so-called elected one accountable, how we're going to address these issues. And it seems to me like we like to pretend everything is okay, and when it comes to deeper a little bit, it's hard to talk about issues in the community in general, whether Arab or Muslims or any so-called immigrant community.
Uh, well, I mean, as far as our elected officials within our community, we have the right every election to either vote them out or vote new people in, right?
Right.
As far as the negativity, I don't think any of the communities, whether you're Muslim, Christian, or Filipino or Asian or whatever it is, really want anything in their community that's negative to come out, right? They all try to solve it from within themselves. And I think as a Muslim community, any of the negativity that may be occurring in our community, we should solve them ourselves. I don't think we need outsiders to come in and tell us how to run ourselves, how to operate, how to fix our issues or our problems. We have well capable, intelligent people to be able to solve our issues and our problems, and let's keep the positive out there and keep the positive in everybody's mind.
Okay. Okay. I like that. Okay.
Sorry, I'm a very positive person.
No, yeah.
I mean, we have negativity, right? And we have issues.
No. I mean,
We deal with them. We deal with them and we move on.
so true. I really do believe, like, knowing the problem is halfway for the solutions, and whether it doesn't really matter. I mean, as long as we have a good motive, we just have to trust our initiative that we all, I think, we want the best for Canada, for our community, for Calgary, and for our Muslim community. Whether it doesn't matter like what nationality we came from.
What I do ask from our Muslim brothers and sisters, especially our Muslim brothers and our elders, we spend so much time, talking about politics and news in our old countries. And of course, we all want to follow what's happening in our homelands. And we worry about our families that are there and the economy and whatnot. If they would only take 15% or 20% of the time that they spend talking about our politics and issues in our homeland countries, 15% or 20% here in Canada will go a long way, because that's all it takes really to be involved. Again, I mentioned I belong to the Calgary Forest Lawn EDA board, and we spend 1 hour a month basically meeting and talking about our EDA and funding, preparing for an election, what it is we need, do we have to open up nominations, etc. That's basically all it takes. And voting here, I mean, we know how fast it is. You're literally in and out of a polling station in 10 minutes. That's it.
So true. So true. Emad, we have about 8 minutes left to we wrap it up. And thanks, Ibrahim, for your nice word. Choosing the best. Yes, definitely. Choosing the best and the brightest and the most qualified one. I think this is our responsibility. And somebody mentioned something about like leadership, and I think really leadership is not something that you're born with. You might have some abilities, but we need to think about and encourage those people, especially the young one, who have these ingredients in them to lead naturally. And you, Emad, being one of these community member who've been working quietly away from a spotlight for years and years and years. Also, I applaud you for all the community work you've done. And I didn't know really, Emad, like you were heavily involved in the politics of the country. And as you said, regardless which party you're in, still we do need to get our people involved, because that's the only way we're gonna embetter and empower, and we're gonna defend and protect the interest of Canada as a whole, as a mosaic, and also for us as a minority within a larger pie.
Minority Muslim
Absolutely.
Community. So, and I will say, Sam, I am one of the guilty ones as well. after all these years, not being involved with the struggle and the fight within our community members, standing with our brothers and sisters. Just until recently, I got involved, and I plan on fighting alongside our brothers and sisters for the betterment of our community, the Muslim community, and I'm hold my head up high to be standing side by side, but with all of them.
Okay, and I heard you. I heard you. Maybe with the few minutes we have left, you mentioned the action pack that you brought it into the our group. If you remember the WhatsApp group that we were 2 3 weeks ago, and Brother Abd also irritated on. I mean, also brought these issues up later.
The cap.
Yeah. Okay. So tell me more about
So,
what exactly that. So maybe hopefully that going to be also another boost to get the people interested in that.
so yeah, I sent a letter, to our MCC leader, and I sent it on, as you mentioned, the WhatsApp group that we have with some amazing people on it. Uh, the new board members that were elected, and again, I'm just speaking on my personal opinion. Amazing group of people, and boy, oh boy, do they have their plate full, and Allah yaqawiyun ya Rab.
I mean,
But this is something that I think is very, very important. The political action committee, to get it involved, get it set up, get it ready. It's going to help our community tremendously. Be ready now, in the future, and hopefully we'll see a lot of the negativity that has come out in the past regarding our community elections. Hopefully we can alleviate all of that and move forward. But I think, the political action committee is a very, very important step, and we need to get on it right away.
oh, absolutely. And as you said, there is a lot of people like yourself and others who have a lot of already they have years and years of a proven track record of success in their community work. Whether they're gonna run for any office or for and take any jobs, or they're gonna be part of a body that's gonna provide the consultations, or we call the shura, to the elected people. I really think we still need to build this structure where everybody feel connected, everybody feel engaged. So, and this is how I think you're gonna start accumulating these experiences. So generation after generation, so we're gonna build a better community instead of every layer of management. You're gonna wash everything's been done before them and start all over again, and then after a few years then scratch it or scrap it, and then it'll start all over again. So if we can find, hopefully in time, utilizing the existing experiences we have and keep bringing new blood into the political arena, and slowly but surely build so-called institutions, organizations, places of worship, and places of community to get together. I think we're all going to benefit from that if we feel like we belong to a community that they're going to look after us, and they're going to support us and take care of us, especially when we get old.
Absolutely, absolutely. There's no reason for us not to. We have the resources, we have the people, we have the will and the drive and the heart, and you name it. Again, it's incredible. I'm so proud of what I've seen over the last year, and getting closer to a lot of these people that are involved. It's an amazing feeling to be around them, to be with them, and to support them, and to stand side by side with them.
Inshallah. Jazakallah khair,
Thank you,
Imad.
Sam.
Last word, if you would like to wrap it up.
Last word, I'd like to say to everybody, please be safe. The government has imposed some strict rules on us. Let's just be patient. Let's follow them. Let's be safe. This coronavirus is very, very serious, people. Ziyarat, visiting, playing cards, eliminated, people. Please. We got a lot of brothers and sisters that have businesses that depend on staying open. So you need to contribute your responsibility by staying home. Inshallah, we'll see a vaccine soon. Be safe.
Inshallah, bi'iznillah. Jazakallah khair, Imad, and it was absolutely nice connecting with you.
My
So you have a
pleasure.
super duper good night, and inshallah we'll do it more and more and more.
Inshallah.
You have a
Thank you.
good one for now. Take care for now.
Thank you.
Bye bye. So with that, guys, this Friday will come to an end, and I just want to let you know that the following Friday, I'm gonna have a guest, in my opinion, that's a very, very unique, and so I'm just gonna leave it at that. So hopefully, we'll see you the following Friday at 8 p.m. on a topic that related to this, but with a very interesting guest. Thank you guys for sticking with us tonight, and thanks for everybody who asked the questions. And وشكرا كتير للي عم يتحملوا غلاظتنا شوي when it comes to keep talking about stuff that maybe some people don't like, but really in the end we want nothing but the best for all of us, whether to the country or the community or to our province or to our city. سامحونا اذا بنتقل عليكم. تحياتي للجميع، وبدي احب اتشكر مره اخرى الضيف عماد Max Saleh. It was absolutely a wonderful guest. شكرا لكم جزيلا. We'll see you in Monday. Just for those who follow what I do, Monday, I think 3 o'clock, Andrew, Minister Chandru, the Minister of Health, is going to be live with us on Monday. I'm going to make a post about that for those who would like to ask the Minister of Health questions. They can ask him directly, and I'll be talking about it in a post later on. تحياتي لكم. Have a wonderful weekend. وتحياتي والسلام عليكم. For those people who, when we say salam alaikum, for those who don't know the meaning of it, for non-Muslims, it means peace be upon you. Good night, everyone. Salam alaikum.